Good evening. Welcome to the second ascertainment hearing put on by the City of Lowell under the auspices of the issuing authority, City Manager Bernard Lynch. And the purpose of our ascertainment, really what it means, is a learning process, and that's what we're here to learn this evening. We're here to learn how Comcast has performed under the existing contract and how it handles complaints and how it services the license agreement that it has. And we're also here to learn about the future needs and requests of the subscribers and constituents who, as to their cable needs and cable performance. We're fortunate this evening to have with us certain dignitaries, so I hope I'll hit them all. There's our State Senator Eileen Donahue, who's here with us. City Councilors Martin and Rita Mercia, who just walked in. Representatives from the school department, Jack Pennard. And also the Executive Vice President from Middlesex Community College, Jim Linehan Jr. So we welcome them, and we welcome all of the people who have taken the time to come here and to offer their information, which will be helpful to us. We'll be gathering, as Moran will address in a few minutes, information not only from these public hearings, but also from anyone who might have submitted or will submit any email or any written thoughts that they may have with respect to how we can really better provide services under the forthcoming contract. As I think I mentioned at the last meeting, which was held on March 13th, that we're under a contract license with Comcast that will expire in October of this year. And so in the interim period, we'll be negotiating a new contract, and that's why we hold these hearings, in order to garner information that will be helpful in those negotiations. Just as a formality, and for the record, I will read the legal advertisement that was published in the Lowell Sun on two occasions, on February the 25th of this year, and again on March 4th, relative to these public hearings. But as I said, I will read it just for the record, and it reads that a notice of ascertainment in public hearing by the issuing authority for cable television in the City of Lowell. The issuing authority for cable television is Bernard F. Lynch, and as part of the ascertainment of the community's cable-related needs and interests for cable television, there will be held public hearings on Wednesday, March 13th, 2013 at 6:30 p.m. here in the City Council chambers, and again tonight on April 10th of 2013. And that these hearings will be an opportunity for users of the Comcast cable television services to voice their opinions and concerns regarding the services under the current license, which expires October the 10th, 2013. During the ascertainment and at these public hearings, the issuing authority will, among other things, review the performance and satisfaction of Comcast as it relates to the cable services rendered. We'll discuss the importance of the PEG channels, which are public, educational, and governmental access channel, and identify future cable-related needs for the community. And again, all subscribers and interested parties are invited to attend the public hearings and to submit by either email or by written communication or by phone call to the gentleman sitting to my right, Moran Fernandez, who's the Chief Information Officer of the City of Lowell. His phone number is 978-674-4099, and his email address is mfernandez@lowellma.gov. As I indicated, these ascertainment hearings are under the auspices of the city manager, who's also the issuing authority for the cable contract license for the City of Lowell. With that, I'll ask Moran. He has a few comments, I'm sure, to make, and then we will invite anyone who wishes to come forward, and we would ask those who do, or whoever might speak for them, to sign in with their name and address so that we have a record of the speakers. But again, feel free to submit, for those of you who may not be here and who may be watching, please submit responses to the questions and to the issues that you feel are important as far as giving us information for the upcoming negotiations. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to thank Comcast and all the community members for being here tonight. My name is Moran Fernandez, and I'm the City of Lowell's Chief Information Officer from the MIS Department. I'm responsible there for ensuring that the city is making the best use of its existing technology and implementing new technologies that allow the city to deliver effective and efficient government services. And though I'm a member of the city administration, my team and I also work closely with the school department in a consultative capacity. While there are undoubtedly going to be many topics covered during these ascertainment hearings with various recurring themes, it's important that we establish a framework for these meetings and these hearings. As Attorney Fenton pointed out, the ascertainment hearings are intended to review Comcast's performance during the cable franchise license period, which will be expiring this fall. They're also intended to identify future cable-related needs of the community. It is important that everyone understand that this is a city-run hearing about Comcast. It is not run by LTC, it is not about LTC, and it is intended to focus on how Comcast has done during this past 5-year license period. All of the information gathered will be used in the city's upcoming cable franchise license negotiations. With this in mind, it's important to point out several topics which often come up, but which really are not intended to be the focus of these meetings and are really outside the scope of this meeting. For example, the topic of channel lineup, as in, we need the golf channel, which is not under the city's control. That's not open for discussion during the meeting. The topic of channel placement, as in, let's move the municipal channel back to channel 10, which is not under the city's control, is not germane to this meeting. The issue of competition, as in, why can't we get other cable companies like Verizon to come to the City of Lowell? It's not under the city's control, and it's not open for discussion during this meeting. On that topic, however, because it does come up so often, it's important to point out to everyone that Verizon has been contacted multiple times over the past years, and each time has responded or replied to the city, telling us that they have no interest of coming to Lowell, have no intent of coming to Lowell, and as they have announced to the Wall Street Journal and to other publications, they have no intent to expand their FiOS implementations across the United States anywhere else. Essentially, it has to do with their technology, it has to do with their decision on how they're expanding and where they're expanding, and they've decided FiOS is not something they're expanding and certainly not bringing to Lowell. I'm sorry, Dave.
No, I was just going to add, and contrary, that's not what they say in their ads. And everybody gets these mailings and say, you have to switch over to FiOS, it's wonderful, it's faster, it's this, it's that. And yet, here we are. They're not interested. So it's the bottom line, I'm sure, with them. So anyway, I just wanted to add that comment. Go ahead.
Well, it's an important point, because anywhere that you go that has a Verizon set up where they're sitting there trying to sell you on their services, you're going to see a map. And the map is going to have all these pins pushed in it, and you're not going to see a pin in Lowell. It's a little donut on the map. And you're going to ask them, hey, can I get Verizon in Lowell? And they're going to say, yes, you can. And you're going to say, oh, really? I want Verizon in Lowell. but I've been told I can't get it, and they're going to tell you, contact the city. Talk to the city. You got to speak to the city. They kind of leave out the fact that they've told the city they're not interested in coming here. So it's just an interesting thing for everyone to be aware of. The last item on the list that we avoid discussing is rates. As in, why do I have to pay so much for cable television? Why has this gone up? And why can't I get things a la carte? Those things are not under the city's control. They're controlled by the FCC, not by the city of Lowell. Without a doubt, all of these issues are important and relevant topics, but they're simply outside the bounds of reviewing Comcast's performance and identifying the future cable-related needs of the community, which is what this hearing is about. Before I invite the public to speak, I'd like to point out that we have received well over 150 letters to date from various parties regarding cable-related needs and interests. I'd like to thank everyone who has taken the time to write us, email us, etc., and assure you that all of these letters are being entered into the record as part of the ascertainment hearings. Comcast has generously offered to extend the comment period 30 days out so that you can continue to send letters, continue to email me, continue to contact us, and give us additional information on how you feel Comcast has been doing. Good, bad, ugly, other. We need to hear that. With that said, I'd like to suggest that we open the Comcast cable franchise ascertainment phase and public hearing, and we'd like to invite everyone who'd like to participate to please approach the podium, state their name and address, provide their input, and when they're done, please make sure to record your name and address on the attendance sheet, as that's kind of critical for the gathering of the information. And that's pretty much it. Dave, do you have anything else?
Well, just one thing, and that is I noticed that as you were speaking, that Councilor Leahy just came into the hearing, and we welcome him. And I don't know if you did mention it, but we're pleased also to have representatives from Comcast, Tim Kelly and Karen Matheson here, they're learning as well as we are. So with that, we invite you to step to the microphone or the representatives, and let's hear what you have to say.
Great. Hi, my name is George DeLuca. I'm 463 Merrimack Street. I'm also here on behalf of the Lowell Commission on Disabilities as a friend of the commission, and we have several members of the commission here. I want to thank Senator Donahue, Councilor Martin, Councilor Mercier, and Councilor Leahy for being here, and thank you for moderating as well, gentlemen. And I also want to thank the Comcast people for also being here. Thank you so much. We have a show, it's called Shattering Barriers. It's on Channel 8 and Channel 99 here on LTC. And we've started approximately 6 months ago. And we have 5 shows that have played or that have aired so far. And then there's one currently airing now. We have a schedule that we laid out to the end of the year, and we're pretty much booked to August, and our shows are pretty much established through October. So we're pretty far along, and we're very much organized. And like I said, we have several members here. We have Ron Lassman, Will Briere, Dave Ellingson, and our chairman, Jeff Wilson, chairman of the Lowell Commission on Disabilities, and also on the Commission of Taxi and Livery Advisory Board. So the other people, now our attendees here and others on the commission are the crew for the show. We don't bring in people to do the show for the commission. The commission actually has been trained and are in a training process, and they actually do the show themselves. So we have, here we have camera operators, we have talent. Will Briere here is the star of our show. He's our lead host. And anyone here that's here today can act in that capacity. So the roles are all interchangeable. So you have camera operators, you have hosts. Jeff is our sound technician. Jeff's 9-year-old daughter is a production assistant. And then other members that aren't here are also involved in the show. We have our meetings, pre-production meetings once a month. And then we have a shoot once a month, so the monthly shows. Our pre-production meetings are sort of like a TLZ session, if you've ever seen that show, where we all sit around, we throw out ideas, we say, hey, that sounds good, and we kind of explore it. And then, so we have a list of future shows that are maybe 20 different concepts for future shows that we're developing, and then we're always bringing in more ideas. So it's a very exciting undertaking. It's just a wonderful experience. It's sort of like a family feel to the interaction, and as we all get to know each other a little bit better, we have more and more fun as time goes on. Unfortunately, two of our members that wanted to be here tonight can't be here, and that's because they're deaf. They can't hear, and we had an arrangement for somebody to come here and be their interpreter, and that fell through at the last minute. And that's one of our problems as a group. I think for the most part, we're pretty much underway. We're good, but we're having some issues getting through the hard of hearing aspect of it. In other words, if you're sitting in front of a TV set and you're watching the visual, but you can't hear what's being said, then there's really no purpose to doing that. If you're blind and you can sit in front of the TV set, and at least you can follow along with what's going on, because you're blind and you go out into the world the next day to go to work, like our chairman, who grabs a taxi cab over out of the Fort Hill area and goes to the Gallagher terminal, takes the train into Boston, gets on the subway, and then goes to work from there. And if it's nice weather, he sometimes walks from the Boston Garden to work, which is several blocks away, and he uses his cane to navigate and so forth. So we're very proud to have Jeff as our chairman. He works very hard. He has a family, a lovely wife and a beautiful daughter. And but he gets out into the world and he navigates communications by what he hears. He uses computers. He has devices so that he can download the newspaper on his way down on the train. So he's good. But unfortunately, in terms of our deaf brothers and sisters, there are two on the board that are part of our crew. It's difficult to involve them because of their need for interpretation and the scheduling of that. But even more so, in terms of the Comcast aspect of things, we don't have closed captioning. So they can't even watch what we're doing. They can't even decipher the shows themselves without an interpreter. So what we'd like to see happen is we've done some research, and the commission has access to maybe $20,000 a year based on fines from like people parking in handicap zones and so forth, are put into a budget for the Lowell Commission on Disabilities. For us to put out a closed captioning just of the city council meetings once a week for a solid year, we're looking at about $13,000 for somebody to transcribe what's said, so that we can show it live, so that deaf people can actually watch the proceedings and understand what's going on. That's about $13,000 for the transcription service, and then there might be another $5,000 for equipment. So out of a $20,000 budget in the first year, it's all going to go to that, and it would be nice to have some relief for that from other sources. So that's one of the things we're looking at, and Comcast is experts in TV type issues, so we're looking for maybe some advice and about going forward with that. But definitely, we do have Cheryl Quintal, who's one of the people that we're talking about. She's scheduled to come into the studio. We'll have an interpreter there for that, and then we'll do our first show on a deafness-related topic. But we want to get deeper into that. Disabilities are all over the board. I mean, you have the mobility impairment, you have blindness, you have deafness, you have cognitive impairment, It just runs the gamut. Everybody knows somebody who has a disability. And a lot of people have disabilities. I mean, probably everybody has a disability if you look at the perfect human specimen. You know, everyone is disabled in some way. The inspiration of the show is to approach it just like that. You know, that we want to be an inspiration for everyone. And that's our goal. So, studio training, we want to, in terms of establish our crew and get out there, we constantly take things to a higher level. We're out there right now doing field shoots involving with the HD cameras from LTC, but we're not able to put HD out over the airwaves. You all know all about that issue. That's all been advocated before, but it would be a help because then we could actually go to a higher level and do a combination of field and studio shoots and send the signal out in HD. And I think that at that point, our crew may be ready for prime time, and you might see some pretty dynamite programming from us. Okay, so that's about all I have to say. I know that Jeff Wilson, the chairman of the Lowell Commission on Disabilities, is coming up to speak. From that point, the other commissioners can come up and speak. I've been told that they want to kind of see how it goes. So we'll let that happen, and then we'll turn it over from there. So, Jeff?
Before you leave the podium, I just have a couple of questions, and that is, you said that you have how many programs already scheduled?
No, we have 5 programs that have been completed that have been airing since November, and they come out once a month. So we have a program airing now, and then we have the next program all completed that'll be airing in May, and then we have another program that'll be airing in June. And then, so the next one that we're working on, we have in April 20th, we have another shoot in the studio to do the July show. So we're pretty organized, and we have a collaborative system of notes that everyone can reach online so everyone can contribute. So I'm not the guy, I'm not the chief cook and bottle washer here. It's like we're all working on this as a collaborative team, and everyone is inputting. And
Well, you're a good spokesman on behalf of the commission, and appreciate your efforts in that regard.
great, thanks so much.
Can I ask one other question, George? When you're talking about $13,000 a year roughly for closed captioning, I think everyone here knows that some city council meetings might run late, and that they're not always a 2-hour meeting or a 2.5-hour meeting. I'm curious what numbers you used when you were trying to calculate out the number of hours of time that would have to be closed captioned, because
Sure. Well, say it's $90 an hour. I believe we're going by 3 hours, 3 hours a night. So that's our estimating. And you're right, there can be some fluctuation there.
great, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Jeff?
Thanks, George. It's a tough act to follow. George is our director. Well, first of all, I'd like to thank representatives from Comcast and the Lowell City Council who are present, Senator Donahue, and the city manager. My name is Jeff Wilson. I live at 67 Hank Street in Lowell. I'm the chairman of the Lowell Commission on Disability. I just started working with George probably, I believe it was in January. I have a little bit of TV experience from my high school years working at that cable station, managing that station back in the analog days, doing more live programming than anything else. So it was really kind of neat to come in and meet George and see how organized he was, and I knew the show was going places with George at the wheel, so that's a good thing. I've been doing work on the audio board with the show, and it's been a great experience. I've also, I have a 9-year-old daughter who is experiencing what production is like in the studio for a TV show that's going on the air. It's a great experience. My daughter's in the 3rd grade. She's actually working on TV. That's something that you don't get just anywhere. It's a community thing that's provided by LTC. And it's a great service that LTC provides. We don't want to see that go away. I just want to echo my sentiments as well as George on the closed captioning issue. Unfortunately, 2 of our members couldn't be here tonight because there was no interpreter that could come to the meeting, so they're left out of this. A nice thing for them to have would be to be able to sit at home and have closed captioning and be able to know what we're all saying and what's going on. Unfortunately, they don't have that right now. Closed captioning is very expensive to put out on the shows. That's why you see a lot of the closed captioning these days sponsored by different companies. And of course, we're not able to do that being a local cable access program. So it would be nice to see if Comcast could maybe help us offset some of the expense of providing closed captioning service for the city council meetings, for Shattering Barriers, for other programming that might be on it. There's a lot of good information that comes out on Channel 99, Channel 8, Channel 95, and also Channel 22, the educational access. So that's basically all I have to say. I've really enjoyed my experience working with George as our director. I probably wouldn't have met him if LTC wasn't here doing what they do, and we certainly value them in the community, and we'd like to see them continue the services for years to come. So thank you all very much for your time, and I'd like to present to you the host of our program, Shattering Barriers, and this is Will Briere coming up.
Thank you for having me. My name is Will Briere. I actually live at 198 South Street in Lowell, and just really echoing Jeff Wilson and Georgia DeLuca's comments. I can't stress to you how important LTC has been for me, because I was actually elected the host, I should say. And I do actually have a background in journalism, and Shattering Barriers has given me the opportunity to have some experience in doing what I was trained to do. And I do work in the community, helping people with disabilities. So this kind of just helps not only myself, but everybody else around me who's on this crew to do that. Now, Lowell Telecommunications, why is it important to what we do and to Comcast itself? Because it gives voice to not only Shattering Barriers in the disability community, but to everybody, to the whole community. And that's what the disability community here represents. Because like as George said, everybody has a disability, or everybody knows somebody with a disability. So a couple of the things that I think that would be important would be maybe to also be on the on-demand service for Comcast, or the local, the cable, the cable channel, so you can scroll the channels and know who we are. That would be really important for us and for everybody who watches Comcast. So I hope that you maybe take that into consideration, and thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you, Will.
Yes, I'd like to just say a couple words here. We also represent, Dave Ellingson, 16 Middle Street. I know that we have a discount for the elderly and the disabled, and I wondered if Comcast might increase their viewing population, if we could up the discount that we receive, if that might prevail upon some people to maybe sign up for Comcast, that maybe might make a difference in them getting, be able to afford Comcast or not. So that's all I've got to say.
Thank you, Dave. I just wanted to recognize Councilor Rodney Elliott, who came in during the presentations that were up at the microphone. I didn't want to interrupt them, but so we have 4 members of our city council here tonight, which is very nice. Thank you.
I'd also like to point out and apologize for our city manager Lynch, who, go ahead, Dave.
No, go ahead.
Who would have been here tonight, couldn't because of a prior engagement. He did attend during the last hearing and did extend his apologies for not being able to be here tonight.
But he gave us our marching orders about 4 o'clock this afternoon, right? And you know, what we should stress and so forth. So he's involved, really. That's it. Now, someone else wishing to come forward, we appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Eileen Donahue. I reside at 257 Andover Street in the city of Lowell, and I want to thank you, Attorney Fenton and Mr. Fernandez, for being here this evening, and everybody else, my colleagues in government, everybody who's taken out the time to come. And most especially, I'd like to just take a moment to thank those who serve on the commission for the work that you do, which is invaluable to our community. So thank you for all the work that you do, and I look forward to seeing shattering barriers, and maybe on demand in the near future. You know, for as long as I can remember, Lowell Telecommunications, or LTC as we fondly refer to it, has been an institution in our city and has been committed to 2 objectives. One, informing the residents, and as has been stated here tonight, all of the residents of the city of Lowell about current events and issues happening in the city. And 2, promoting public engagement and community improvement through technology education. You know, the opportunity to not only produce a show, but learn what goes into it and know how to do that. And Shattering Barriers has proven that tonight. You're in front of the camera, you're behind the camera, you're writing, you're doing sound. And these are opportunities that the community has in addition to putting information out in the community. And it has served a wonderful, wonderful purpose for our community for many years. On a personal level, my experience with LTC most recently stems from the past almost 2 years working with LTC's municipal director, Mark Ducey, and the assistant municipal director, Steve Brogan. Together, these 2 have done an outstanding job, and they do for so many people, but personally, I can tell you, they have helped me produce a bi-monthly program called Beacon Hill Buzz, and I encourage everybody to watch it whenever you can. It's a little plug, a little ad. But what we try and do through this program is inform constituents in my district about issues affecting them through insightful, we hope, discussion with local community leaders and activists. And in this regard, we have been able to produce bi-monthly shows, not only for this community in the city of Lowell, but with a distribution throughout the First Middlesex District, which includes the other towns I represent, Westford, Tingsboro, Dunstable, Groton, and Pepperell, where the shows that are produced here are sent out to those cable access stations and are aired in those communities. For example, in our latest segment, we spoke with Doris Griggs-Sato regarding the CEO of the Lowell Community Health Center, and we spoke at length about the renovated facilities of the healthcare center, as well as the important new healthcare services and programs available to the residents of Greater Lowell. So many people have not been down Jackson Street in many a decade, and they'd be very surprised to see the new center, not just in terms of the excellence, in terms of the the center, but also the healthcare services that are so important. And this is just another avenue of trying to get that information out in the community. We air the show regularly, and we are able to reach constituents all across the district. This is just one of many, many programs, municipal programs that are produced by LTC. And as I said, they are completely professional, thorough in their approach, and with what they have in terms of facilities, really do an outstanding job. In a city like Lowell that is constantly changing and growing, Lowellians value staying informed about local events and issues that affect them. And there's no better way to do that than to tune into local access, because what you see there, you don't see on any one of the other, I don't know how many channels Comcast has these days, but let's say in the hundreds. But in the local cable access channels that have been mentioned here tonight, channel 8, 10, 99, and of course 22, that is a resource and a depository for so much information that is important to Lowell's public. The educational, government access programs, these are key to making people well aware of what's happening all across their community. I believe that LTC represents a passionate local organization that fosters civic engagement and a sense of community throughout Greater Lowell and across the Commonwealth, which is why I strongly support Comcast's continued funding of these essential programs. Now, it's been mentioned tonight that there are some improvements and some other additions that would greatly enhance LTC's ability to continue to provide excellence in service across their viewing audiences. And in keeping with current viewing trends, as we've seen has changed so much over recent years. I fully support LTC's promotion on the digital programming guide. That would be a huge asset for the viewing community to know when a program is coming on and that they could access that guide. Placing LTC's programming on Comcast's on-demand service. Again, another huge benefit, not just to LTC, but for people who are too busy or occupied, but yet very interested to be able to access the city council meeting on demand would be an enormous benefit to the community, and maybe shattering barriers in Beacon Hill Buzz as well. And then providing a high definition channel. And it's an option to allow broadcasting of HD footage. Again, in 2013, we see the advances by leaps and bounds in this whole area of telecommunications. And I think if we can provide through and just obviously everything comes with a price tag, where we're up to here on Beacon Hill dealing with budgets as we speak. And so I'm well aware of that, but I think if this can be a goal that we could strive toward, it would go a long way in again, enhancing the communications with the community. So I want to thank you again for allowing me to speak on behalf of the excellent work that is done here in the city. And with the needed funding and support, I look forward to continuing working together with my colleagues here in the city, working together with Lowell Telecommunications, and working together with all of the community members, both as a host and a viewer. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Senator.
Hello, my name is Bill Martin. I'm a member of the City Council here, and part of my duties as a City Councilor, I chair the subcommittee on technology, which includes oversight of cable TV issues. Under the LTC bylaws, the chairman of that subcommittee also serves on the LTC board, so I'm also a member of that board and have some issues. I know it's not a hearing about LTC, but certainly the franchise agreement or the franchise that the city has with Comcast, LTC, benefits from through their contract with the city, and the things LTC is interested in negotiating with the city can only be implemented if the city has that in the Comcast agreement. So I think part of LTC's concerns are relevant to this discussion. But first, a few issues about matters of citywide impact, not necessarily related to LTC. I know price is not one of the things we really get to consider in the franchise agreement. However, if we're assessing Comcast performance, there's no more important issue than price. And I think one thing in our control regarding price is the elderly discount that we have. Certainly we want to preserve that. We certainly want to preserve the maximum discount that we're allowed to obtain by law in the franchise agreement. My colleagues and I get calls about that all the time. But, you know, price is it's expensive service. I'm a Comcast subscriber. I had a bundled package that was a period of time. It ran out, it went up, it recently went up again. And that's of paramount concern to people in the city. And I appreciate the comments about Verizon not willing to come, but I think it's important for us to be able to offer competing services in the face of escalating prices. So I think it's important that we don't have an exclusive arrangement with Comcast. I know we don't now, but I think it's important to preserve that because we don't, this is going to be presumably a 5-year agreement. Technology is moving very fast in this area. We don't know what types of competing services are going to be offered. You know, Google is now in Austin, Texas with Google Fiber, and it's in Kansas City. Chattanooga, Tennessee has competing service. So I think that's something in the next 5 years the city may have an opportunity to look at, even if Verizon isn't coming. So I think in spite of whether we think Comcast has done a good job or not, we need to preserve the ability to have competing services. Also, another issue that we have is connections throughout the city. I was surprised, not all that surprised, but there are places in the city that don't have access to Comcast. There are buildings that are not served. And in fact, all the city councilors got a letter this week dated April 4th from someone in Western Avenue Studios, a Western Avenue building that does not have access to Comcast. The office building where I work at 21 George Street does not have access to Comcast. We tried to connect a few years ago and were denied because of a street opening permit, was what we were told. Here, the issue is railroad right-of-way crossings, but it seems to me if there were a will, there's another way to get into Western Avenue besides going over railroad lines. So I think we should be encouraging Comcast in this agreement to really provide service to anybody who wants it at as reasonable a price as possible. Those are pretty much the issues I'd say that I have concern about in wearing my hat as a city councilor. When I switch and put on my LTC hat, there are also a number of other issues, some of which have been mentioned already. Certainly funding is an issue for LTC. I know the city has been dedicating a portion of the franchise fee that Comcast pays to fund LTC. LTC certainly would like to see that continue, perhaps even be in the contract with LTC if possible. Capital funding is something the city's also been very good in over the years with LTC, but we think that also needs to continue. Technology constantly needs to be updated, and LTC feels the need for capital improvement funds, just like the city's MIS department and other similar type of organizations do. You know, the capital for closed captioning, for example, might be a possible use of capital funds. The viewer guide, if it were possible to allow access, we are aware of other cable systems that do allow access to the viewer guide. It would take some work on the part of LTC to get its programming schedule coordinated with Comcast, but that would do a lot to increase viewership. If people knew when programs were going to be on, Senator Donahue wouldn't have to be up here announcing her show. You know, you could just find it on the viewer guide and cut down on that. Another way Senator Donahue could get her show out is public service announcements. If we were allowed at LTC to drop in a 15 or 30-second announcement on other stations about upcoming programming on LTC, that would help us increase viewership, or at least allow people to know when they had an opportunity to view municipal programming. Also educational and the other things that LTC offers. I know there's some people are interested in high-def channels. You know, when I ran for city council, I really didn't sign up to be shown on high-definition TV all across the city, but I know some people would like to have that option, and I also don't know that people really need to have city council meetings on demand, but I guess there's some people that can't get enough of that. So if you could offer those services too. There are others that have more detail. Other speakers will have more detail about some of these issues, but those are the things I think of interest to certainly the city council, or some of the city councils. I'm sure others will have other things to add, but those are the things that have been brought to our attention to date and think should be considered in deliberations about the renewed franchise. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilor.
Good evening, Mr. Fernandez and Attorney Fenton. For the record, my name is Rita Mercia, 221 Burnham Road. I am also a Lowell City Councilor for the past 18 years. I am honored to be here to talk about cable television and Comcast and all the local programming that we have. I know that it's not really supposed to be about LTC, but that is local. That's what it's all about in this city here. We're not Hollywood, we're not Broadway, but we are local, and these are our neighbors, the people that put on the show for the disability and tell us what they're doing, and made them feel a lot more independent. Certainly made me feel that, gee, when I complain about a headache, here's people with a disability and they're producing a show. You can't do any better than that. That's the greatest. I do want you to know, for Comcast, I did take part in the bundle. I have that, so I want you to know that, and I'm very pleased with what I have. I had some problems, and they came right away and took care of it. The people that came to my home were very cordial and knowledgeable and very, very nice. One of them was a Lowellian, so that was a good thing too. You're putting people to work in the city of Lowell, so that's great. Please keep the funding sources coming, because there's nothing like government access and the freedom of information. When we think about all the things that take place in the city, all the Winterfest, the City of Lights Parade, the Folk Festival, we have some great people that work from LTC. Mark Ducci, Steve Brogan, second to none. They do a tremendous job, as I must compliment these two people representing the city, Attorney Dave Fenton and Miran Fernandez, great representatives of the city here, so I'm happy that you're here. But I want to say that this is a city of ethnicity, great diversity, and when you tune into LTC, you could see a Cambodian, the dance, or the dragon dance, or you can hear their customs, and then you could turn on another channel and see, at another night, and see Portuguese people. It's all about diversity here. This is local. These are our neighbors. I can't stress that enough, so we need the money coming. But when I talk about the City of Lights Parade, the Winterfest, the Folk Festival, we're able to go there to see all these things. There are people that are not so much like the disability that can get out and make their own programming. They're homebound. We got to remember those people that are homebound that want to take part in this, and the only way they can do that is through their dial. So I want to tell you how important that is. It's an honor for me to be able to be here, and the great job that LTC is doing. I'm just pleased to be able to say that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilor.
Thank you, Councilor.
Good evening. My name is Karen Bergeron. I am Vice President of the Greater Lowell Chamber of Commerce, and the Chamber is at 131 Merrimack Street in downtown Lowell. I do reside at 20 Heather Road in Dracut. I am a Comcast client also, and I do partake of the bundle. And just to let you know that Comcast is a wonderful working partner with the Greater Lowell Chamber of Commerce, and we do appreciate all their hard work and everything that they do for all our members at the Chamber. We do have one big regret, and that is that at 131 Merrimack Street, we can't partake of the wonderful services of Comcast. We really enjoy them. They would save us a lot of money if we could have their services. So I say kudos, but we really would love to have you where we are. Really cannot talk about Comcast without talking about Lowell Telecommunications. They are the hardest working, dedicated, extremely talented workers and volunteers that I've ever had the pleasure to work with. Under Jessica Wilson, she is just superb. They have a mantra at Lowell Telecommunications, and it is, yes, I can. Where do you want me? It is just incredible how hardworking, how they will always fit it into their schedule for anything that you need. I'm pleased that we have a TV show on LTC, and it is Chamber Chat TV. It is wonderful. It's fantastic for our chamber members. It is fantastic for the viewing public. I do have to tell you that it does serve for people in the morning, in the afternoon, at night, and I'm really surprised as to how many people do come up to me and will say that they saw our show at 3 o'clock in the morning and how much they enjoy it. Other ways that we work with LTC is they provide social media free to the public. They provide classes. This is fantastic. I can't tell you how every month we have people calling at the chamber wanting to know when the next classes are and how they can sign up. They do a fantastic job, and we just love partnering with them. Their can-do attitude, they are always there to film our legislative breakfast, municipal, and our membership breakfast. LTC is always, always, always available for educational seminars. I don't think I've ever once heard them say no in the many years that I've had the pleasure, honor, working with the hardworking, again, people of LTC. There are a few things that I have had our viewing members ask, and it would be a great asset, and that would be demand, the Comcast on-demand availability to our members. As I've said, our viewing audience, many work morning, noon, evening hours, so they cannot partake of watching live the different functions and programs that are available on LTC. So a Comcast on demand would be vital and so important for our viewers. Also, showing titles on the TV guide. We do get numerous calls asking when our show is going to be viewed on LTC and what are the viewing times, as well as other programs that is shown on LTC. That would be a huge asset to our viewing members. So I want to thank you all very much for taking the time to do this public hearing. I want to thank you, Comcast, for all that you do. And I want to especially thank LTC, the wonderful people that I just love and hold very dear. And thank you from all the people that we serve for all that you do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. Another member of City Council has arrived. Councilor Laurie just arrived, so we had a quorum until Rita just stepped out here, but
Hi, my name is Carla Wilbur, and I'm new to Lowell, and I'm here to follow up from the meeting last night regarding a letter John Wren wrote from the Western Avenue Lofts community.
excuse me, what is your name again? I didn't.
Carla Wilbur, 160 Western Avenue.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
It's a kind of a new community, and it includes 50 live-work units, as well as Alpha Imaging Technologies, which is a very large imaging company in New England. And we would very much like to have Comcast. Right now, we're balkanized. We don't have that kind of connectivity. We're reliant on very old, slow technology, and it's hard for businesses, people who want to start businesses. And I don't know if you have Mr. Wren's letter, but he's heard a variety of reasons why we can't have this kind of connectivity.
I don't mean to interrupt you, but I just want to make a comment. Yes, the letter that Mr. Wren sent has been already given to Comcast, so they're well
Great.
aware of it.
And for the record, so have several others.
Okay, great. Well, I think I basically kind of covered it. We would just like to have access, and some people have tried, and John has tried, and Louise has tried, and it never happens.
I know there's a lot of folks waiting to speak, but just for the record, does it make sense for Comcast to come up, introduce themselves, and maybe address it right now so that we can
Absolutely.
that one item that seems to be
Thank you,
hanging?
Miran. I appreciate it. For the record, Tim Kelly, Senior Manager of Government Affairs, Comcast, having an office at 55 Concord Street, North Reading, Mass. 01864. Both Mr. Fernandez and Mr. Fenton both brought this to our attention, I'd say at least a month ago. The issue has been that we need to cross a property owned by the MBTA. As recently as today, I spoke with our Vice President of Technical Operations. He advised me that we needed to execute some licenses to get across. We have a master agreement with the MBTA, and that was done last week. Our certificate of insurance for the MBTA has been updated, the master agreement signed. So the project's approved, it's been approved, but we couldn't get across. We had the impediment of getting an easement. That seems to be taken care of. I'd love to give a timeline as to when we'd get started. I really can't, but I can say in the near future we will get started. Maybe at the end of May, June, late June, we might be offering service at that building. But we have been able to get over that hurdle of the easement, and we're moving in the right direction. So I think that's good news for the folks at 160 Western Ave. It'll be better news when they can sign up. And just for the record, it's, when people want our service, that's not a bad problem to have. Thank you.
Unless you're the people that can't get your service.
Tim, before you leave, there's a couple of other properties that were mentioned here at the hearing, and I'm not putting you on the spot, but if you have some information. One was 21 George Street, where Councilor Bill Martin's office is located, and another one was at 131 Merrimack Street, where the Chamber of Commerce is. So,
Sure.
if you can't, I appreciate it if you could look into it and get back to us on it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to comment on those specifically, but past history has shown that the issue of not being able to build out has either been the expense for a construction, contribution aid of construction, or a permit issue. whether it's a guaranteed road that we can't get into because of a 5-year paving moratorium or cobblestone or something of that nature, because the city is old and has, the older infrastructure, so on and so forth. If we can't get the proper permits, we can't proceed. If we can, we will.
I'll follow up with an email to that, Tim, with the addresses, and I'd like to invite any of the viewing audience that have any issues with Comcast connectivity to please make sure to email me or contact me directly. You can email me at mfernandez, that's MFERNANDEZ, at lowellma, LOWELLMA.gov. I'm frankly surprised about the 131 Merrimack Street, because I know for a fact there was an issue on Merrimack Street 3 years ago for the Career Center on the corner of John Street. There was a vault issue with a collapsed vault that got rebuilt and brought service in from that end of the whole intersection. So I thought that end of Merrimack Street was all set. So I appreciate bringing that to our attention. I wasn't aware of that.
Nor was I. Thank you. Also, I'd be remiss if I didn't introduce my colleague, Karen Matheson, who also works out of the same North Reading address. She will be the government affairs representative for the city. That was probably actually a month ago. So just like to introduce her to the audience as well.
We were pleased to meet her at my office about a month ago, and thank you for bringing her with you tonight.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Rodney Elliott. Live at 15 Cresta Drive, and I'm here wearing a couple of hats tonight as well. One is a member of the Lowell Commission on Disability, and I think they all spoke very eloquently to the importance of LTC. Excuse me, as it relates to the show Shattering Barriers. I happen to be a guest on the show, and I think they do a fabulous job in putting out information in a show format that's very educational to not only the disability community but the city of Lowell as well. Secondly, I'm probably one of these people that has seen your show at 3 a.m. scanning or surfing at night. But I have to say that the shows that, and I haven't seen this in other communities, quite frankly, the value of people producing their own shows from many nationalities, many religious organizations, or whether it's poetry or any number of different items, issues, programs, areas of interest. I think it's educational to the community, and I know another member of the council is going to speak to the significance of the high school and the studios, but I do think that LTC and the programming is very valuable. So just switching hats as a member of City Council, I wanted to address a couple issues that have not been addressed to this point. And one is the location of the municipal channel. I believe it was a little over a year ago, maybe a little bit longer, that the City Council meetings for as long as I can remember, and that's quite some time, was always located on number 10, channel 10. And this was changed, and people in the community certainly voiced their concerns to me and members of the City Council, because the channel was changed from number 10 to 95. Or was it 99? 99. See, I still can't find it. But, that was troubling because people were accustomed to go and see City Council meetings on a Tuesday night. And on demand is a good idea because people that don't see it on Tuesday night, they don't have to wait for the replay. So I do hope that message is carried forward as well. But changing that channel and then replacing it with a shopping channel just didn't seem right. People now that let's face it, people that surf, I mean, they're more likely to see a city council meeting or any number of meetings that are broadcasted from this chamber if they start at the lower numbers and then stumble on it. And I do think that's significant. I think it's important. I'd like to see it come back. We certainly don't want to see any other channels changed and sort of be pushed at a, at a higher number level or slot. I'm not even sure what the terminology is, but I'd like to see that go back to number 10. And I know it's probably a revenue issue, but I think it's important for us to take a second look, bring it back to where people are accustomed to finding it, and to where newer residents can come in and just stumble on it and become involved. So that was certainly something I thought we should bring forward. The other issue, I believe it's an equipment funding issue. We have been trying to broadcast or bring government to the homes of people as much as we can. This chamber is used every night. It's booked or double booked. What I think is important is that we also try to equip the mayor's reception room to enhance our transparency and to expand our number of meetings that are broadcast home. We still have meetings being held in conference rooms across the way, and I don't think that makes sense. So if we can do that, I know it's an equipment issue, I know it's a wiring issue, but if we have rooms that we can use, and they are being used, in fact, the Commission on Disability, more often than not, we can't meet in this room because it is already booked. We meet in the mayor's reception room. It'd be nice if we could televise that to a community that would benefit from seeing their meetings. So that was the second issue I also wanted to bring forward. So, customer service, we do hear complaints in addition to the rates, and I know we're not discussing that, but it is a concern. And customer service, I have to say I've received complaints over the years on the way people are being treated when they do have an issue and or problem. So I think that's all that I wanted to bring forward. Closed captioning, I know it was already mentioned. It's an expense. It's a significant expense that the city is bearing as a result of a revenue stream from tickets. But we would like to see Comcast provide or share in that cost at some level, because it is important to provide that service to people at home who are deaf and they want to participate in their government, and I wanted to bring that message forward as well. So I thank you for your time and the opportunity to bring these issues forward, and good night.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Just in response to a couple of things that you said, and that is the Federal Telecommunications Act that was enacted many years ago, and the regulations that supplement that put out by the Federal Communications Commission have clearly stated that the placing of channels in a particular order or with a particular number is not within the local control, nor is, as you well know, Councilor, the subject of rate charges. The state, to a limited degree, looks at the basic rate charges under the jurisdiction of the Massachusetts Technology and Telecommunications Department. But beyond that, we citizens and we municipalities and we in the state do not have the power to really to deal with that issue. Unfortunately, that lies down in Washington, and any change would have to come from them and not on the local level.
I know this is probably not a question and answer period, but so just on, I understand the rates and the best way to address that clearly as through competition, but on the channeling, not the programming, the location of the channels. You're saying that rests in Washington,
No, I know, that actually rests.
state
it's-
level?
No, it actually rests with the provider, with Comcast. That it's something that the regulations have spoken to and have indicated that that's within their control, not within the control of local municipalities, for example.
That's per the FCC.
And why is that? Why is it that, they're allowed to do
The
that?
FCC basically says, as if they want to move a channel around, they can move a channel around as long as it's made available to the appropriate tier of services. So for example, someone who's a basic, who's subscribed to the lowest tier in Comcast, right, which I was for many years, to get minimal service, you would typically only get up to X number of channels. If they decide, so let's say you only get up to channel 29, and they decide to take channel 10 and move it up to channel 99, so long as they now make channel 99 available to you, where you could only get up to channel 29, then they can do that and position whatever they want at another channel. And that's an FCC regulation that Comcast certainly takes, takes the decision to follow through on and decide where the channel goes.
But doesn't it make sense, or there is a reason behind that, right? Let's face it. They're not doing it just because they just want to switch channels around. They're doing it because the national networks are on 4, 5, 7, 9, whatever the community that you're in.
And it's a strong coincidence that it was changed to an NBC shopping channel, which they now are.
Right, so it's clearly a money issue, so I would like to at least express my opinion that we would prefer to at least have the municipal channels at the lower level of the dial. I know it's not a dial, the lower level of the numbering system, if possible. Thank you.
Thank you.
If I may, for 1 second, I think one valuable piece of information that maybe wasn't discussed with the council was the issue of miscarriage and the election of miscarriage. And the reason why we moved Channel 10 was because we had to. It wasn't because we made that decision, but WWDP, owned by Value Vision, which uses Shop NBC, elected Channel 10 because that was the frequency they broadcast on. It wasn't a unilateral decision by Comcast. Just want to make that clear. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Dan McNeil. I live at 200 Market Street, number A2, and I am going to attempt to set a record for brevity of all the speakers tonight. I think Comcast has done an excellent job in supporting the community with, say, 20th century technologies like broadcast television. I think there's an opportunity for Comcast to help the community of Lowell with, say, 21st century technologies like television on demand. It is my suspicion, looking at Comcast's current on-demand listings, which include Cougar Town, Keeping Up with the Kardashians, and Cheetah Girls, that there may be some room for other programming. For example, Sayan Soon's documentary about being a child soldier. And I would suggest that one way Comcast could provide better service to the community of Lowell, and one way for the city of Lowell to conduct negotiations would be to allow LTC to have some control, to have some access to Comcast's on-demand service. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. And I just want, while the next speaker comes up, I just want to take a quick moment to apologize to Tim from Comcast, because that is a very important point that he made, Counselor, about the must carry, which slipped my mind completely, but is an important point to make in terms of the requirements that the FCC does have for certain frequency designations for certain channel providers.
Hello, my name is Louise LaFond. I live at 160 Western Avenue Lofts, and tonight will be my second night there. And I just want to talk briefly about my experience over the last week ordering high-speed internet service from Western Massachusetts online, being assured I would get it, that it was all okay. And I ordered a special modem for it from Amazon that came and cost me $100, so I would be all set up. My computer went dark before I moved over here, and now I'm trying to get connected, and I saw that I heard that Comcast has a little bit of a problem, and but I had this appointment from 3 to 5, the window, when the tech was going to come out and hook it up. And so he came at 3, and even though I'd been told that, good luck, it's not going to happen, we don't have, service here. Repeatedly in the morning I was told, oh, you have service, you're connected. And sure enough, when the tech came up and I opened the little door and I showed him these cables, he says, yeah, those are our cables, no problem. And then he tests it and there's no signal. So there was a problem. And the whole building is not connected. I want to say that I'm an artist, and this is a building that has artist restrictions. And as an artist, we have to upload and download large files of digital files of our graphic work, of movies. It's very important for our businesses and our careers. And in addition to the 50 of us that live at the Western Avenue Lofts, there's also about 200 artists and small business people over in the studios across the parking lot who are also increasingly needing connectivity. So this is a lot of small businesses that need really high-speed internet. There's no substitution for it. DSL doesn't work for what we need to do. And an imaging company absolutely needs some kind of high-speed connectivity. So I think this is very important to the economy of Lowell, that we can contribute a lot more to the economy of Lowell if we can get the tools to do it. And I was told that make a list of people that want it that will help. So I don't know what's exactly slowing things down. I was told that this has been in the works for a long time. Obviously, it was built in the building, so there was planning going on. But I'd like to see a little fire under there because it's extremely important for my business and the business of the other people. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you.
I think you will, I'm not sure if you were here or not, but Mr. Kelly did speak to that and the steps that are being undertaken at the present time to address that. So hopefully within the next 2 or 3 months, things will be straightened out on Western Avenue. So.
If I can ask real quickly, Counselor, regarding Comcast, is there any way that the property can be flagged in your database so that anyone who is trying to request service, that it's clear that it's not available at this time?
The reason why it's probably listed as an active address is there's a possibility that our techs did go out, pre-wire, and get it ready for the occasion when we're ready to bring in the plant. But I will certainly bring that to the attention of our care team and folks that are front-facing employees.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Good evening. John Leahy, 87 Glenwood Street, Lowell, Mass. Before I get started, could we just, it might help for the last people on Western Ave. I understand the answer that you gave, that you couldn't get permission to go over the railroad tracks, but why couldn't you come in, people are asking, why couldn't you come in another way? There's 3 other ways to come in, right? So just so we all know why.
Sure. Well, I discussed this with our project coordinator today. He told me the other way was over the railroad tracks. Certainly it could be because of the engineering, the fact that it could be at the end of a cascade of our plant, which means we'd have to build fiber and nodes to bring the service over and make sure that they're appropriate signals. So this was the best way to get across in this instance. And as I said, we did sign, I believe, 5 licenses with the MBTA that were executed last week. But when we deal with railroad tracks and other, impediments, we're unfortunately at the mercy of either the state or whatever other organization. So we try to move forward through. 50 units is a good building. It's not like we're trying to stay out of there. Obviously, that can add to our revenue. So we want to get in there, but a lot of times the MBTA contract, master contract that we signed with them a year ago took 2 years to negotiate. So these take a lot longer when you're dealing at a different level of government. And that's the best reason I can give you.
If I can add to that, Counselor, and real quick, I think there's a separate issue. Folks may look at it, and just to kind of build on what Tim just said, folks may look at it and say, well, these other buildings around it have access, so why can't this building have it? That's a common question. And fundamentally, when Tim was saying earlier about the build-out, the engineering, the nodes, to not be too technical, but every time, when you look at a street, there's something on that street that's boosting the signal to bring it down to each home. And each home that connects into that reduces the signal strength, and then you have to boost it as much as you can to the next one. But at some point, there's a cascade effect where it just kind of hits a point where you really can't boost it anymore. And I believe when we spoke about this last year in October or November, the first time it was brought to our attention, while they were looking at the railroad issues, and we did discuss other ways of getting in, the issue was the resources and what the impact would have on all the other surrounding connections if they tried to cascade it further to bring it in. So they would have to do a large engineering build-out to build out a lot more on that end, which could also impact customers in the greater area as opposed to bringing it in through the railroad. And I believe that was a lengthy discussion that we had in terms of the engineering components. So it's a little more complex than it looks on the surface in terms of just saying, oh, these other buildings have it, why don't we? If you just add that other 50 customers, it could be enough to break the back to all of a sudden create a huge headache for everybody else on that connection in the area.
Yeah, thank you. That's the explanation we were looking for, because I didn't know the answer. And certainly if you live at the building, it looks easy, like you can come in from any direction, but that makes a lot of sense. So, okay, thank you. I just came down quickly to reiterate exactly what everyone else has been talking about tonight with the good work that LTC does. I just wanted to hit on a few points that people have spoken about tonight. The viewer guide for LTC for the local programming, people would appreciate that. I did want to talk about, a few people talked about the public announcements. If we could get some more outreach and awareness to the community, that would be a big help as far as promotional inserts made available on educational TV, commercials on channels like CNN, ESPN. So anything we can do to boost the outreach to the community would be helpful. I also wanted to touch on one point about the, I'm not too technical on this, but a few people have mentioned the iNet, to make sure that basically that we're continued our commitment to the maintain and allow the upgrades in this contract period, to make sure that the network is upgraded and improvements are made to the infrastructure, especially for things that we have going on at the high school, especially, to make sure the work that they do at the high school through Channel 22, make sure that that stays strong and that it's in good working condition for the community. And that's all I really had to hit on. A lot of people spoke very eloquently tonight on a lot of subjects, so I appreciate that you listening to us tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor.
Thank you, Council.
I'd like to address real quickly just the iNet, just for the viewing audience and for everyone that's here. The iNet is fondly known as the iNet. It's the institutional network, which is running throughout the city. It currently assists in the connection of 120 locations that the city has, and is used as the backbone and infrastructure for many of the connections. We are certainly interested in maintaining the INET and ensuring that it exists at a minimum, the way it is today, but certainly with the opportunity for upgrades, enhancements, expansion, et cetera. And we've worked very closely with the schools, with Jack, with Jay, with Bill Silver, with a variety of folks to ensure that it is not overlooked, as it is what interconnects all of the schools, or 95% of them today.
I just want to make this point. I don't think we have MBTA tracks around Western Ave. I've never seen an MBTA train. I've seen Boston Main train, and so I think it's maybe a private business. Pan Am? Pan Am. Thanks. Yeah.
I don't know if you want to mention that.
Yeah. Well, what you might see on the train or on the freight car that might pass through doesn't necessarily mean that Boston and Maine, for example, owns the tracks. Yes, right, Pan Am, and we've had difficulties with the storage of tankers for a period of time on various tracks and so forth. So we're well familiar with dealing with the railroad, and it is it's not easy. Let me tell you that. But according to what Mr. Kelly has indicated, Western Avenue is being addressed. So, Councilor Laurie.
Good evening. My name's Marty Laurie. I'm a resident of 93 West Wind Road here in Lowell. And I've come here tonight really two hats. One, I'm on the city council, but on the other hand, I'm a citizen of Lowell, and I want to commend the company on some of the work they do in public service. Many of the shows, for example, the folk festival is shown on TV. Many of the people who can't get out of their homes are able to view it, and that's great. And I know the LTC, we were just talking, over 200 people received training last year. And I just want to ask that as we go forward, we think about a couple of things. Programming, how we could probably expand it, make it a better service for the city, and also negotiations, keep the elderly in mind. Anything that they get contractually now, can we keep that in the contract for the elderly? Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Jay Linehan. I live at 15 Daniel Street. I've been a member of the LTC board for a few years, and I currently serve as the president of the LTC board. And thank you, Mr. Fernandez and Attorney, for allowing me the opportunity to speak just for a moment tonight. The things that have been mentioned here before are similar things that I want to talk about too. We've talked about, the standard funding, operational funding that's important to produce content, the additional funding and consistent and predictable funding on the capital side so that we have the equipment to likewise produce that content. And then the other part of that is the producing of the content, of course, is important, but you need to get it out to the people so they can see it. And you've heard that too. You've heard about the on-demand, you've heard about the digital guide, and if we can't have the process by which to put it out, the content that we develop isn't as good as it needs to be, the guide and the content and the on-demand. And part of the question that I'm hopeful everybody is asking is, well, why do we need this? Why is this important? I mean, for me, it's extremely important. As we talk about the variety of things that are important at the board, we talk about the need to be able to produce the content so that it's all about uniting this community. It's all about the city of Lowell. I can flip on 4, 5, and Fox and everything else. I can get all the shows I want. I can go watch movies. I can do all of that. But the only place you're going to get what's going on in the city of Lowell is off local cable TV. That's where you're going to get it. You can get the municipal channel. You can turn on, you can see Breaking Down the Barriers. You can flip on, you can see the Lowell Folk Festival. If you've ever been to the Lowell Folk Festival, and I've had this discussion with people a lot of times, it's one of the most amazing events in the world, as far as I'm concerned. Because you go downtown, and there are people from every single ethnic background around, with musics from different ethnicities that you've not heard of, in food that you've probably not eaten before. And everybody comes together and has a great time for 3 days. The police probably tell a couple people to behave a couple times, but it's a wonderful experience that weekend. And the reason for that is because the exchange of all that cultural information breaks down all the barriers. People get to know each other in a way that they otherwise don't. To me, that's what cable TV is all about, the local cable TV. If we want to invest in the city, and we invest in the roads, we invest in the schools, we invest in everything else, and we forget to invest in the cable TV, we're missing the boat. Because that's a key investment in the people of this city as well. It brings them together. It makes this city, I think, the great city that it is today, and the city that it needs to be going forward. So I thank you for the opportunity to be here today. I thank the councilors for being here, for Councilor Leary, for Councilor Elliott, for Councilor Mercier and Laurie, who were here before, and of course, Senator Donahue, and all the other people who have come and spoke. Because I think this is such an important issue. The recontracting is a huge opportunity. And, you know, we talk about competition. If I had the chance to buy Vios or Comcast, I'd stay with Comcast anyways, because I've seen folks do both. But competition's a good thing. It gets you to the table, and it chases and it helps the exchange. We don't have that here. That doesn't mean we can't likewise have a great discussion and get good things back into that franchise contract. One of the things that wasn't talked about to this point, I don't know if it was precluded by FCC, there's not a TV station in the world that doesn't have the data on who watches and when they watch. And we all know why they want that. LTC has none of that information. I can't tell you when the seniors are watching. I can't tell you when the school kids are watching. I can't tell you when they're watching. So when we try to do the programming that's important for LTC, we do it by anecdote, we do it by survey, we do it by talking to people. We kind of figure it out. But in the year 2013, that is a very rudimentary way to figure out what's the most effective way to program. And as we look at the strategic plan that we have, I think there's a lot of good things that LTC is currently doing, but we want to do more of it. I mean, how do we get more out in the community? How do we broaden our base in this community to engage more people with the great content that's out there so we can share it? Part of it's being able to have some of that data as to who, when, where, and why. Again, it is a basic tool for anybody who's doing anything on TV, and LTC does not have that. So I'd ask that you look at that. It's huge. It's a key implement, and why that's not here heretofore, and again, I don't know if FCC rules or anything controls that, but the ability to do that has not been here, and I'd ask that that be looked at as well. And again, thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Linehan.
Hi, my name is Lydia Sisson, and I'm a resident of Lowell, 204 Parkview Ave. And like many people, I'm wearing a few hats tonight. But I'll start with my hat as a co-director of a new initiative in Lowell, Mill City Grows. We have used services at LTC now and been a member for our whole lifespan, which is about a year and a few months. And I just want to commend LTC for all the work they do. They have allowed us to get into the community and teach the community more about urban gardening. I just was on my first show this weekend, and it was really wonderful to be able to spread our organization's work with the Lowell community via television. So I want to speak as somebody who uses LTC to help spread the word of an organization. Also a new board member of LTC, and I just want to echo Jay's comments about being able to know who we're reaching. So it's both important for me as a program manager to know when I'm teaching somebody about urban gardening, what demographic I'm reaching, and when I should be showing these shows. So just echoing that, if there's a way to do that, we would really love to see that happen for LTC so that we can get more consistency with when we're showing things. And I just think it's amazing. We work with gardeners and Lowell residents who speak numerous languages. We have 7 different languages spoken in our garden, and the fact that we can reach them through LTC is wonderful. I think there are 57 foreign language channels on LTC, and I think it really is representative of the diversity of our community. As a resident, I do watch city council meetings often on LTC, and I think it's a wonderful service. So thank you for all you do, and I hope to see the funding continue to stream in for LTC, and that programs can be expanded and improved. So thanks again. Have a great night.
Thank you.
Good evening, I'm Jack Pinard. I'm the Educational Television Program Coordinator in the Lowell Public Schools. I'm here tonight advocating for the PEG community in general, public government stations, and in particular for the 16,000 students in the Lowell Public Schools. We actually have the pleasure this year of the task of educating the class of 2025. And the reason I bring that up tonight is because I want to talk a little bit about being a little bit visionary here. There's a new document that 44 states have now adopted called the Common Core State Standards. And what that is a way to measure and predict how we can teach kids. And almost all the states in the country have now said that this is how they will move forward educating our class of 2025. And one of the 7 things that they list as to be career and college ready as a student is to use digital media and technology effectively and capably. And so I'm asking certainly everything that people have already spoken about. I have prepared notes that have virtually all of those things on them. So I would like to ask certainly that our funding continue. It's been an extremely critical piece of the school department's work. In the years between, say, 2005 and 2009, when the economy was bad, there was a bloodbath in the school system, and we lost over 500 positions. But during that time, we were still able to run the television studio, provide students with opportunities to create media, understand what media is, use technology, and so that they can move out into the world as tech-savvy people who are college and career ready. So I'm asking for a little bit of vision here where perhaps we look at some of the things, Comcast being a for-profit company involved deeply in technology, perhaps at least open a dialogue to some things that maybe they can bring to the school system and help us educate kids and maybe give them real-world experiences about what technology has to offer to them out in the world. So although that's not a specific piece, I would like to open up that idea, and as the contract negotiations go forward, maybe suggest that we look at some things that could be partnerships, if that is at all possible, and give our students that much more of an education so that they can use digital media and technology strategically and capably. So I'd like to open that up and to put a little bit of perspective on that vision. In 2002, when I joined the school system, there was a debate in this very room during a school committee meeting arguing whether or not each teacher and each staff member in the school system should have an email account. And that was 11 years ago. So in the time of that 11 years, we all chuckled because it seemed so ridiculous to imagine life without email. Again, talking about vision, I'd like to ask you, the class of 2025, what are they going to be doing when they're seniors in high school? We can't really predict or almost even imagine the type of technologies they'll have at their fingertips. So again, I'm asking maybe that we open a dialogue here and look for some things that could really get our kids involved with media at a young age and make them comfortable with it and use it throughout their school opportunity. So please put that in there and say, okay, let's have a discussion. Let's try to get what we can out of that. And again, we thank Comcast deeply because in those tough years, the funding that you have that we're asking, obviously, that it continues, that funding was vital in those years to us hanging on and really delivering. Quickly past that, I just want to reiterate a few things that people have said. Video on demand, it's now a common household viewing habit in many households. For our kids, there is a number of times where a student maybe has an illness or a long-term disability that can't make it to school. Video on demand would actually offer us the chance to give them some classes that they could watch from their home. That would be awesome way to use that technology. We need vitally important for us to reach out to the parents in the community. As you know, Lowell has many single-parent families. It has families that work 2 and 3 jobs. So the schedules for them to find out what's going on in the schools is not always a neat and tidy thing. So being able to put video demand on, being able to get the program guide so that they know when shows will air, all of those things will help us reach out into the community and make sure that parents do know what's going on in their schools. The last thing that I'd like to touch on that nobody, I don't believe, has touched upon is, again, part of that vision, looking forward in terms of signal quality, in terms of iNet quality, making sure that we are positioned. This contract is for 5 years, but let's look out past that so that we are positioned to grow as the technology grows. And I'd ask that perhaps we look at this contract in some of the ways we might be able to upgrade the signal that we have so that the clarity is really equal to the commercial stations that are there. A few of the towns locally have moved over, as an example, to optical signal transmitters, something that might benefit us here in Lowell. And again, I'd like the discussion to be, what can we do to make the service more robust? What can we do to make it move forward with that class of 2025 as they grow and as technology changes? So again, the fact that there were so many people here tonight and a vibrant and robust community in the PEG access of Lowell, part of that is what you guys have done. And we truly, my warmest and sincerest thanks for that from the Lowell Public Schools and the community. So appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you, Jack.
Thank you. I think it was interesting tonight to hear, you know, we talk about PEG, public, educational, and governmental. And I think we did hear from the 3 different branches tonight. And it's I think worthwhile that we received that input from those 3 segments. That being said, I guess, we're 8:15, so unless there's someone else who has something they would like to say, I think we will close the meeting, and thank you all for coming.
Can I ask real quickly?
Sure.
I believe Comcast, just in this second hearing, give them an opportunity to, I mean, outside of the issues with Western Ave, to maybe bring forth a couple of different partnerships they're doing with the city and talk a little bit about what they're doing with the city like they did last time, Dave?
Sure.
I will be very brief. Actually, thank you, Mr. Fernandez, Mr. Fenton. I just wanted to quickly touch upon what Mr. Bernard spoke to as far as digital media and technology and partnerships, so on and so forth. We have a program that we've implemented nationwide called Internet Essentials.
I'm sorry, what is it?
Internet Essentials. And we would love to work with the Lowell Public Schools and with Mr. Bernard in implementing that very important program for low-income families. Any family that has a student that's on the National School Lunch Program, either receiving free or reduced lunch, is eligible for this program. The program is $9.95 a month. It's an internet connection. They can get either a laptop, refurbished laptop, or netbook, which is a modification to the program this year, for $150. And the best part about this program is if a child is a first grader, and only one child per family, if that child's a first grader and they continue to be eligible all the way through the 12th grade, that $9.95 price point remains. It's a very important program of bridging the digital divide. I think this is right in line with what Mr. Bernard was talking about, and we really look forward to bringing this program to more students in Lowell because it's a very important program. So I appreciate the ability of being able to speak to that. And lastly and quickly, we look forward to working with the City of Lowell, Mr. Fernandez and Mr. Fenton specifically, and negotiating a new license in good faith. As I've said before, and I believe this, it's a privilege for us to be in this community, not an entitlement, and we look forward to bringing the best services and products that are out there in our space. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else that would like to say anything before we close this ascertainment hearing?
Motion to adjourn, as they say.
Thank you, everyone, for being here tonight.
Thank you.